While the world outside keeps rushing forward without pause, allow your mind to slow down for a moment. For right now, I will tell you a Zen story, a tale where every word gently opens a new doorway to peace, wisdom, and quiet healing from deep within. Story: The Candle in the Long Night. One autumn night, gentle rain whispered through the valley. A small meditation hut called the Still Light Retreat sat quietly among cedar trees. Only a faint glow illuminated the wooden walls. Inside lived Master Elias, a monk known for wisdom as deep as still water. That night, a young counselor named Daniel arrived. He often helped others find clarity, yet his own heart had become heavy with invisible burdens, responsibility, expectations, and the pressure to always appear strong. As Daniel entered, he spoke softly. "Master, I feel like I'm sinking. I can help others, but I can't help myself. I'm afraid one day I won't have the strength to continue." Master Elias did not answer. Instead, he lit a small candle. Its warm flame flickered in the dark room. "What do you think of this candle?" the master asked. "It looks so small," Daniel said, "like it could go out at any moment." "But it hasn't gone out," Master Elias replied. "Do you know why?" Daniel shook his head. "Because it doesn't try to burn brighter than it can. It simply shines within its capacity. You, however, keep trying to be bigger, stronger, more perfect than you are." Daniel froze. The words struck deeply. The master placed 2 candles on the table, one lit, one unlit. He used the lit candle to ignite the other. Both flames shone softly. "You see," Master Elias said, "when you give light, you lose nothing. But if you give without replenishing yourself, your flame weakens." Daniel swallowed hard. Images from the past months flashed through his mind: long hours, emotional burdens, sleepless nights, and the constant fear of disappointing others. "Master, I'm really tired." "Tiredness is natural," Master Elias said. "What is unnatural is pretending you're not tired. You must allow yourself to rest, to be vulnerable, so your flame can be renewed." He gestured for Daniel to place the candle near the window where wind flowed through. The flame wavered violently. "This is you," Master Elias said. "When you place yourself under too much pressure, the candle wants to shine, but it cannot stand." Then he closed the window, shielding the flame. "And this is you, when you protect yourself." Daniel nodded slowly. "But if I rest," he whispered, "I feel guilty, like I'm abandoning others." "No," Master Elias said firmly. "When you care for yourself, you care for those you will help tomorrow. A cup that is empty cannot give water." Daniel's eyes reddened. Tears fell, and Master Elias let him cry. It was the first time Daniel allowed the flame inside him to calm and steady itself. When the tears stopped, Daniel said quietly, "I understand. I don't need to shine like the sun. A small candle is enough." Master Elias smiled. "Yes, and remember, a single candle can chase away the darkness around it." When Daniel stepped outside, the rain had softened, and the night wind felt less cold. He walked slowly through the dark path, feeling lighter than before, carrying a small but steady flame inside him.
Story: The Dewdrop on the Bamboo Leaf. On the northern mountainside, where the morning mist hung like a silver veil over the world, stood a small temple called Trukwan Monastery. Quiet and humble, it became a refuge for those weary of life. There lived Master Nathan, a monk known for his serene presence, calm like a bamboo forest after rain. One early autumn morning, a young man named Ethan arrived. His shoulders sagged, his eyes dim. "Master," he said, "I failed at my job, the one I love left me, and my friends no longer understand me. Life feels unfair. I search for peace, but the moon I search, the more lost I feel." Master Nathan smiled gently. "Come with me." They walked along the bamboo path. Sunlight glimmered on thousands of tiny dewdrops. The master stopped before a single trembling drop. "What do you see?" he asked. "A dewdrop about to fall," Ethan answered. "Do you think it fears falling?" Ethan was silent. The master continued. "From the moment it forms, the dewdrop knows it will fall. Yet it does not fear. It does not demand to stay on the leaf forever. It simply shines while it can, and when its moment comes, it lets go." Ethan lowered his gaze. "Master, are you telling me to let everything go?" "Not to let go," Master Nathan corrected, "but not to cling. Your suffering comes from insisting that life follow your desires. Success, unchanging love, loyal friends. When these change, as all things do, you hurt." They reached a stream. The master said, "Draw a bucket of water." Ethan did. It was clear. "Now stir it hard." Ethan stirred, and the water turned murky. When your mind is disturbed by sadness or anger, nothing is clear. But if you stop stirring, the master set the bucket down. Everything settles on its own. Slowly the water cleared again. Peace is not forced. It appears when you stop forcing. Ethan's chest loosened. "But if I stop trying, how can I improve my life?" "You misunderstand. Do your best, but don't tie your happiness to results. Flowers bloom in their season, never in winter." He continued, "Do you know why I watch the dew each morning? Because it is beautiful? Yes, and because it reminds me. Impermanence is what makes life beautiful." A nearby dewdrop fell. Ethan watched it, then smiled faintly. Before leaving, he bowed. "I'm still sad but lighter now. Perhaps I too should live like the dewdrop. Shine when I can and release when the time comes." Master Nathan nodded. "You have understood part of it. The rest you must live to learn." Ethan walked down the mountain, lighter and ready to begin anew. Story: The Wind Chime in the Mist. High on a western mountain stood a small meditation retreat known as Moon Ridge Hermitage. In winter, thick mist wrapped the forest, softening every sound until the world seemed suspended between silence and breath. The hermitage was home to a wise monk known for his deep clarity. One cold morning, a young designer named Lucas arrived. His face showed exhaustion. For months, he had been trapped in creative block, unable to produce anything that satisfied him. The harder he tried, the more paralyzed he became. Lucas bowed deeply. "Master, my mind feels trapped in darkness. I want to create, but I feel empty. I want to break through, but I only end up more frustrated." Master Aiden rose and motioned for Lucas to follow. They walked into the white veil of morning mist until they reached a tall pine tree. Beneath its branches hung a bamboo wind chime, completely silent. "Do you hear anything?" Master asked. "No, Master." "Then is the wind chime useless?" Lucas hesitated and replied, "No, it is waiting for the wind." The master smiled. "You see, the wind chime does not force itself to ring. It waits for the right moment. Creativity is the same. It cannot be pulled out through strain. It appears when the mind is open. He gently moved the wind chime with his hand, creating a light, pure sound that blended with the quiet forest. When you push yourself too hard, your mind becomes stiff, like a wind chime wrapped by a tight cloth. Even if the wind comes, no sound is made. Lucas lowered his eyes. But I'm afraid that if I loosen up, I won't accomplish anything. Not loosen, Master Aiden corrected, but not to cling. Create with sincerity, but don't choke your mind with fear, expectations, and the need for perfection. Master Aiden picked up a fallen pine needle and placed it in Lucas's hand. What do you feel? Light, soft, simple. Exactly. And because it is light, it can dance in the wind. But your mind, is heavy with fear, doubt, and pressure. How can inspiration dance when the heart is weighed down? Lucas gently closed his hand around the pine needle, realizing that if he squeezed too tightly, it would break. What should I do, Master? Look at the mist. They both gazed across the valley, swallowed by a white ocean of fog. The mist hides the path, but when the sun rises, the path appears. You cannot push the mist away. You only wait for it to clear. Lucas inhaled deeply. His thoughts had been just like the mist, dense, confusing, unmovable. And he had been trying to push instead of letting it settle. I understand. I must allow the clarity to return on its own. Master Aiden nodded. When your heart stops fearing mistakes and stops chasing perfection, inspiration will return to you and the wind will find your wind chime. At that moment, a soft breeze drifted through the pine branches. The wind chime began to sing, releasing a gentle melody that echoed through the mist. Lucas looked up and a smile slowly formed. Master, thank you. I will let the wind come instead of demanding it. Good. When you become lighter, everything arrives in its own time. Lucas walked back towards the hermitage, the path now clearer than before. His chest felt open again, ready to begin his creative journey once more, this time with a mind as light as the pine needle in his hand.
Story: The Lake Within. Ethan was a young man admired by many. He had a good job, stable income, and was seen as the embodiment of confidence. Yet only Ethan knew that deep inside there was always a nameless anxiety, an emptiness he couldn't describe. No matter how much he achieved, the feeling never left him. One day, seeking relief from stress, Ethan traveled to a Zen monastery on a northern mountain. There he met Master Liam, a serene monk known for his quiet yet profound presence. The moment Master Liam saw him, he smiled gently, as if he could already read the heaviness Ethan carried. "You came because your mind is not at peace?" the master asked. Ethan was startled, but nodded. "I have everything people say I should want, yet inside me, something is always restless. I can't find peace, not even for a minute." Master Liam said nothing. Instead, he handed Ethan a wooden bowl. "Follow me." They walked to a lake, hidden deep within the forest, its surface still and clear, mirroring the sky above. The master signaled Ethan to look down at the reflection. "What do you see?" "I see the sky, the clouds, everything so clearly." The master nodded, then took a long stick and stirred the water violently. The reflection shattered into chaotic shapes. "And now?" I see nothing clearly. Everything is distorted. The master placed the stick aside and sat on a rock. People are just like this lake. When the mind is calm, you see the world clearly. When the mind is stirred by desire, fear, comparison, and chasing, everything becomes distorted. Ethan swallowed hard. The master continued, "Your mind has been stirred for so long that you no longer remember what clarity looks like." Ethan lowered his gaze. The words hit deeper than he expected. Master Liam handed Ethan the wooden bowl. "Scoop some water while the lake is still disturbed." He did so. The water inside was murky, rippling continuously. "Now, sit here and simply look at it. Do nothing else. Let the water settle on its own." Ethan sat quietly. At first, his thoughts raced. Work worries, silent fears, past criticisms. But slowly, the wind and the scent of the forest softened him. His breath eased. 10 minutes, 20, 30. The water in the bowl gradually became still. Eventually, the sky reappeared within it, clear and whole. Master Liam asked, "Did you do anything to make the water clear?" No, I just watched." Exactly. Peace is not something you force. It appears when you stop disturbing the mind. Your mind has grown too used to reacting, too used to running. But when you pause, the mind naturally returns to its clear nature. Ethan stared at the still water, realizing something he had missed for years. He had been chasing control, achievements, validation. The constant effort had only stirred him further. "Master, how do I keep this calm state?" You do not keep it, you recognize it. When you notice your mind stirring, return to the breath. Like the lake, you cannot force it to settle, but it will settle when you stop stirring it. Ethan bowed. That day he left the monastery feeling lighter. He returned to his busy city life, but each night he sat quietly for 5 minutes, just breathing. Slowly, the emptiness inside him stopped frightening him. It became a lake within him, a place he could return to whenever life became too heavy.
Story: The Torch in the Mist. Nathan lived in a large city where lights never went out and people always seemed to be racing against time. Despite having a stable job, a good income, and a life many admired, Nathan carried a fear he never shared with anyone: the fear of losing himself. Life felt like a heavy mist surrounding him, hiding everything ahead. Every morning he asked himself, "What am I living for? Where am I going?" And every night, he still had no answer. One day, after reading a book about meditation, Nathan decided to visit an ancient monastery deep in the mountains. There, he met Master Rowan, an elderly Zen monk with calm eyes that seemed to hold entire oceans of silence. Nathan shared his worries. "Everything feels covered in fog. I can't find my direction in life." Master Rowan listened quietly, then said, If you want to see your path, you must learn to carry a torch. Nathan frowned. But I don't have a torch. Rowan didn't answer. Instead, he handed Nathan a small cloth bag and told him to follow to the mountain peak behind the monastery. The climb was long and steep. By the time they reached the top, a thick mist was rolling in. Nathan could barely see a few steps ahead. Master Rowan handed him the bag. "Open it." Inside were a small wooden stick, a handful of dried straw, and a piece of flint. "I want you to light your own torch," the master said. Nathan tried. The flint wouldn't spark properly, the straw was slightly damp, and his hands were trembling. "I can't do it," he muttered. Master Rowan smiled gently. "You are not failing because you can't make fire. You are failing because you believe you can't." Nathan closed his eyes and breathed deeply. This time, he didn't fight or hurry. He simply listened to the sound of flint striking, watching tiny sparks appear and die. After several minutes, a spark finally caught. He cupped his hands, blowing softly. A flame slowly came to life. When the torch lit up, Nathan looked around. The mist was still there, thick and white, but now he could see the ground, a few steps at a time. "I understand," Nathan whispered. Rowan nodded. "Life is a path in the mist. No one sees the whole way, but if you hold a light within you, you will always know your next step." They began walking down the mountain. Nathan held the torch, its glow carving a narrow passage through the fog. For the first time, he realized he had spent years waiting for the fog to clear, not knowing that life would never remove it for him. Master Rowan continued, "People suffer because they want to know everything, the future, the outcome, the right path. But wisdom isn't seeing the entire road. It is trusting that even in the mist, you can walk forward." Nathan thought quietly before asking, "So what is my torch in life?" "Awareness," Rowan answered. "When you are aware of your emotions, actions, thoughts, you are carrying a torch. When you know you are angry, afraid, craving, you are shining light. Only when you are unaware do you lose your way." By the time they reached the base of the mountain, the torch was dying. But Nathan felt no fear. The mist was still around him, but inside he carried a light he had never known before. A few days later, Nathan returned to the city. Work was still busy, people still rushed, traffic still roared. But something in him had shifted. He no longer sought answers for his whole life. He only needed to see the next step clearly. And like the torch in the mist that day, the inner light he found was enough to guide him, one small step at a time, all the way through life.
Story: The Bell Within. Oliver was well known in the world of young entrepreneurs, energetic, intelligent, ambitious. To many, he was the definition of success. His own company, a beautiful home, everything people said they wanted. But behind all of it, Oliver carried a quiet exhaustion, a constant noise inside him, like a broken bell ringing endlessly. At night, he couldn't sleep. In the morning, he felt like he had survived a battle. There was always noise within, yet no sound he could describe.
After months of enduring it, Oliver left the city and traveled to a remote monastery deep in the forest. People said the monk living there could help anyone rediscover inner silence. There, he met Master Isaac, a calm monk with eyes as still as autumn water. Oliver shared his worries. "There's a noise inside me all the time. Even when I achieve things, even when everything looks good, my mind won't rest." Master Isaac gently placed a hand on Oliver's chest. "Can you hear anything in here?" he asked. Oliver hesitated. "I don't know." The master didn't explain. He simply led Oliver to a garden behind the monastery. Under an ancient tree stood a large bronze bell covered in dust. Isaac handed him a wooden mallet. "Strike it." Oliver did. The sound was dull, distorted, nothing close to the clear resonance a bell should have. "What do you hear?" Isaac asked. "A bell, but a broken one." "The bell isn't broken," Isaac said softly. "It is only buried under dust." He gave Oliver a bucket of water and a cloth. "Clean it." It was harder than Oliver expected. The bell was huge, the dust thick, but he kept going, wiping layer after layer, until finally the bronze began to shine. "Again," Isaac said. Oliver struck the bell. Boo! The sound rang pure and deep, echoing far into the forest. Oliver's eyes widened. "It's completely different." Isaac nodded. "That is your mind. The mind is never broken. It is only covered by fear, by ambition, by comparison, by desire." Oliver swallowed. "The noise you hear inside," Isaac continued, "is not your true mind. It is the dust rubbing against itself." Oliver stared at the shining bell, realizing how clearly it reflected his life. "How do I make my mind clear again?" he asked. "You don't force it," Isaac replied. "You clean it, a little each day." He touched Oliver's chest. "When you sit and breathe, you are cleaning the bell. When you acknowledge anger, fear, sadness, you are cleaning the bell. When you stop chasing what you do not need, you are cleaning the bell." For the first time, Oliver understood. He had spent years striking a dusty bell, expecting a beautiful sound. That evening, Oliver stayed in the garden, breathing softly, letting each exhale wipe away a little dust from inside. Master Isaac approached at sunset. "The real bell is not out here. It is in your heart. When you hear it, you are truly alive." Oliver returned to the city days later. Nothing had changed, the meetings, the deadlines, the pressure, but something in him had. Every night he sat for 10 minutes, listening to his breath as if it were a soft bell within. Slowly, the noise faded. Bit by bit, the dust fell away. And in the quiet that remained, Oliver felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt himself.
Story: The Empty Room. Near the quiet foothills of Golden Peak Mountain sat a small monastery called Silent Dew Monastery. There lived a Zen master named Master Rowan, known for his simple yet profound wisdom that seemed to open doors inside anyone who listened. One day, a young man named Ethan arrived at the monastery. He was talented, intelligent, and successful, yet inside he carried a restless mind that never stopped moving. His thoughts felt like a cluttered attic filled with fear, worry, desires, regrets, endless plans and predictions. He knelt before Master Rowan and said, "Master, please teach me how to find peace. The more I try, the more tangled my mind becomes." Master Rowan looked at him with gentle eyes. "Tomorrow morning, when the sun rises above the tall pine tree in the courtyard, I will wait for you in the empty room. Come alone." Ethan felt curious, but agreed. At dawn, Ethan arrived at the empty room, a small, isolated house behind the monastery. Inside was almost nothing: a mat, 4 plain walls, and sunlight coming through a window. Master Rowan sat in the center. "Today I will teach you one thing only," he said. He stood up and approached a glass jar placed on a small table. Beside it was a bag of smooth river stones. "Ethan, imagine this jar is your mind." Master Rowan began dropping stones into the jar. "This one is worry. This one is anger. This one is expectations. This one is comparison. This one is your fear of judgment." When the jar was full, he handed it to Ethan. "Can it hold anything else?" "No, Master, it's full." Master Rowan smiled. "Exactly. A mind filled with everything leaves no room for peace to enter." He emptied the stones onto the floor. "Now, sit here in this room. Do nothing. When thoughts come, don't chase them away. Just look at each thought as if it were one of these stones. Then gently set it down." Ethan sat down, unsure. At first, his mind was a storm. Thoughts came like a waterfall: tasks, memories, worries, fears, conversations from years ago. He felt overwhelmed. But he remembered the Master's words: "When a thought comes, see it, set it down." Slowly, he noticed something. Thoughts rose and fell on their own. They came, dissolved, reappeared, like clouds passing across the sky. By the second hour, he felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in years. For the first time, he sensed a vast, silent space inside him. Not because thoughts had disappeared, but because he no longer held on to them. When Ethan finally opened his eyes, Master Rowan stood at the doorway, smiling. "How do you feel?" "Master, I understand now. My mind is naturally spacious. I only need to stop filling it with unnecessary things." Rowan nodded. "Peace is not something you pursue. It is what remains when you stop cluttering your mind. The world is loud enough. Your task is not to control your thoughts, but to stop letting them occupy you." Ethan bowed deeply. That day, as he left the monastery, the world looked the same, but he had changed. He now knew that as long as he kept some space inside his inner room, peace would always find its way back to him.
Story: The Mirror Lake. On the peak of Ashen Ridge Mountain lay a mystical body of water known to the villagers as Mirror Lake. Its surface was so still that people believed it reflected not only one's appearance, but also the truth within one's heart. In late autumn, a young man named Lucas traveled to a small monastery near the lake. Lucas was admired in his hometown for his talent and ambition, but as his success grew, so did the weight inside his chest,
competition, comparison, pressure, the fear of falling behind. He approached the wise master Elion. "Master, the harder I try, the more restless I become. I've achieved things many people dream of, yet inside I feel empty." Master Elion smiled gently. "If you wish to see the truth in your heart, visit Mirror Lake at sunrise tomorrow. But be warned, the lake reflects only what you dare to face." Lucas felt uneasy, but agreed. At sunrise, golden light spread across the still water. Lucas looked down. Instead of a clear reflection, he saw only blurry shadows. "Why can't I see myself clearly?" Master Elion replied calmly, "The lake reflects what is in your mind." Lucas leaned closer. Slowly, the water began to shift and form images. He saw himself running, chasing after countless shadows he could never reach. "What is that?" "Your life," said Elion. "You chase things even you do not truly understand." The water changed again. Now Lucas saw himself standing among a crowd, constantly looking around, measuring himself against others. "This is your greatest burden. You do not live your own life." Lucas felt a sharp pain in his chest. "So what should I do? Give up my dreams?" Elion shook his head gently. "Not at all. Only the ego needs to be dropped. True dreams never need to be abandoned. You must learn to tell the difference." Lucas looked at the lake again. This time, he saw a peaceful version of himself, sitting quietly by the water, not chasing anything. "Who is that?" "That is you, when the world no longer pulls you away from yourself." The scene changed again. Now the lake was stormy, chaotic, distorted. And this is your mind whenever you care too much about judgments, competition, and the need to prove something. Lucas's shoulders dropped. He finally understood that the turmoil came not from without, but from within. Master Elion said, "Water becomes clear when left undisturbed. People are the same. When you stop letting the world shake you, you can finally see your true self." Lucas sat down on the grass and closed his eyes. He felt the gentle wind, the soft sound of leaves, a peace he had long forgotten. When he opened his eyes, the lake now reflected him perfectly, calm, whole, undistorted. "Do you see now?" Elion asked. Lucas nodded. "I don't need to become someone else. I only need to see who I truly am." Elion smiled. "That is the beginning of wisdom." From that day forward, Lucas continued pursuing his goals, but with an entirely different heart. He no longer competed, compared, or struggled to prove himself. He simply lived, clearly, peacefully, authentically. And whenever his mind grew cloudy, he remembered Mirror Lake and the Master's words, "When the mind is clear, life becomes bright." Across all the stories, the empty room, the mirror lake, and the journeys of every character, each person faced different shades of confusion, fear, ambition, expectation, and the endless noise of life. Yet their paths all led to the same realization: peace was never lost. They had only wandered away from themselves. Whether they traveled to mountains, lakes, monasteries, or quiet rooms, those places were merely mirrors, showing them what had always been within. The world is loud. Thoughts are restless. Worries rise endlessly. Expectations pull us in every direction. But when we dare to pause, breathe, and look within, the inner waters become still again. Every character learned a single, timeless truth. When we return to the silence within, we return to our true nature, wide, gentle, and whole. And that is the heart of all these stories,
Not complex doctrines, not distant philosophies, but a gentle reminder. Slow down. Your mind, like water, becomes clear the moment you stop stirring it.